Hello, friends. Tanya here for another day of the Crafty Advent Calendar, and today is day 17. I hope you're enjoying this series as much as I have been. Let's open door number 17, and we have a set of nesting dies. These look like ticket dies or they kind of have a postage edge look on the top and bottom or sides, however you decide to orient them. And these are a fun little size. Here I've die cut the 4 different sizes in 4 different colors of brown cardstock. And you can see that the smallest of those dies is set up to be like a tag. I decided to pull out the Woodland Wildlife set from Simon Hurley, and we're going to use that adorable little owl. There are coordinating dies for all of the images, but not for the sentiments, and that is a huge set. I love it. I'm going to have to play with it again soon. I stamped our owl in some Hero Arts Intense Black ink, and we're going to do some Copic coloring. Here I've got W0, W1, and W3, and I'm starting with the darkest and coming in and just using the shading lines that the artist gave us to do the coloring on our cute little owl. You could color this owl in a lot of ways. I was kind of aiming for a snowy owl look here, which we actually have where I live. I remember one time I was driving down the highway and I got swooped by a snowy owl. It was really pretty. There was no chance I was going to hit it. They are very skilled flyers, but they are much bigger than I initially thought they were. It was actually quite the highlight of my drive home that day. That was several years ago. I have moved on to the beak and the feet, and I decided to go with a very subtle peachy pink red color here. Just going to very gently apply those to the feet and the nose because those are pretty tiny. That branch that the owl is holding on to, I decided to use just one of these browns because it is such a fine detail. Just using the very tippy tip of this marker and some very gentle strokes to add the brown to this branch. Now that I have this all colored, I'm going to bring it back to the Misty, and I'm going to use a clear acetate sheet, which I was having trouble finding for just a minute. And I'm going to ink up my stamp and stamp it onto the acetate and take a look at the placing of the stamped image on my paper. I go ahead and ink up the owl and the sentiment I'm going to use, and it stamps beautifully this first time. And then I go ahead and stamp it a second time because I wanted a little deeper black. And when I put it back in, I must not have lined it up perfectly. So off camera, I go ahead, recolor and restamp, and then I am going to, restamp, recolor, and then I stamped it again with the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and added some clear embossing powder. And I am heating that until we have a nice raised and shiny image around or lines on our owl and on our sentiment. There, that turned out the way I wanted it to. I'm going to trim this apart so it'll fit in the scout, and I'm going to use the die from Merry and Bright sentiment strips. There are actually a few stamps that sets that you can use. The Always and Forever sentiments BetterPress set would work for this also. They have a variety of different length flagged and sentiment banners, and they fit over these small greetings perfectly. Dig through your stash. You never know what you're going to find that you can repurpose. And I was just testing that to see if it would fit through the Scout, and indeed it does. It's a tight fit. If you were trying to die cut all of those, it might not work if you were doing the BetterPress plate, but it worked for this. Next, we're going to play with the Snowcapped, what was that, holidays maybe? And I cut the greenery out from that. This is the July large die of the month, which July was not a fantastic month for us in our family. And so I did not have time to do the 10 cards video. So this is the first time that I have used this particular die set. Like so many of the other floral sets, there are lots of floral sets in Spellbinders line, and they often have branches of berries with coordinating dies that actually attach the berry to the branch. And this one's no different. It has a die that cuts out all 6 of the berries or buds that go on this branch, which to me, that is amazing. I like that I only have to cut it once to get all of the pieces I need for one branch. I chose 3 different colors of green, and I cut some pine branches and some leaf sprigs and some berry sprigs. We're also going to use the 3D embossing folder of the month, Pine Cones and Berries, and this is just gorgeous. It is, of course, a really nice deep embossing. I'm going to use the Pearl Luster Gilding Polish to give this a little bit of a snowy look. I did think about making this a green background, but oh, there's just something about white, greenery, and brown that is such a soothing and beautiful combination. It very much reminds me of the woods and peacefulness. Now that that is all frosted, we're going to start assembling our card, and I am making a 5x7 card because I just really like that size. I have 2 additional layers of cardstock that I die cut with the same owl die, and we're layering those together to make a nice dimensional piece to put on our card. I have backed the pine cones and berries embossed panel with a piece of flyer here, and I had die cut that panel before I embossed it using my favorite or most well used die set, the 5x7 Matting Layers B, and this is the largest of those dies. It is between 4.5 and 4 3/4 inches wide and 6.5 and 6 3/4 inches long, and it isn't like exactly on the 1/8 inches there. I have adhered to the 2 largest layers of these nesting ticket dies, and I'm going to center those on the middle of the card. And I did add layers of scrap cardstock, etc. behind them. Now, to get my placing right, I adhered my little sentiment banner first so I don't put the owl too low because it is a tight fit on this die cut ticket type layer. Now I'm going to start adhering the different greenery here. And again, don't be afraid to modify your greenery. If you need it shorter, go ahead and trim off some of that greenery. I'm aiming at creating a cluster of greenery or foliage on the upper left corner and the lower right corner to add a nice balance here. And I did contemplate going all the way around this, and that would have been pretty too, but I was trying to go for a little more simple look. Yeah, there's a whole lot of ways you could have done this. And sometimes I have to be okay with the white space or the blank space, which is really hard for me. I'm just adding a little bit of glue, trimming off the tips of the greenery where I need to, and using my reverse tweezers to help me get these placed. Oh, I guess I don't use them all the time. Sometimes I feel like my fingers are enough, apparently. Some of the finer details, it's a little bit difficult to adhere them with just my fingers, and then I need to use the reverse tweezers. We're also going to bring some of this greenery to the inside of the card. Apparently, I decided to use those reverse tweezers now. It depends on how gluey my fingers are getting too, because sometimes there's just enough glue to cause tackiness on my fingertips, and then when I go to put things down, they stick to my fingers instead of the paper. And if I had a sink on the second floor where my crafting area is, I'd just go wash my hands. But I don't like to go downstairs until I know I'm going to be down there for a while because I get distracted and then I don't finish my project. All right, that is the project for day 17. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I love to hear what you have to say. And check that description box below. There will be all of the products that I use today will be listed and linked in that description box. And I'm going to try to remember to put a UK shop link also. Until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.